Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, meteorologist with the National Weather Service. On the hazardous weather graphic, we've got winter weather advisories coming in later tonight and continuing through tomorrow for the Yukon Delta, right up into the central Tanana Valley to just west of Fairbanks, and then back up across the Kobuk Valley, Selawik Valley, the northwest coast, northern Seward Peninsula area, as well as the Arctic coast up there, and at least most of it, except for the eastern areas, Kaktovik and Barter Island, both escape it. And then that's for snow coming in, 4 to 6 inches expected when it starts pushes eastward here later tonight and through tomorrow afternoon, with areas possibly of poor visibilities where any wind kicks up. And then there's a winter storm warning still out here for St. Lawrence Island, currently out, and that's out until later this evening or toward midnight tonight. Once that front pushes through, conditions should improve, but that's winds gusting 60 miles an hour, resulting in visibilities less than a quarter mile at times. And from there, moving on to the satellite imagery, there's the system right through here, the front responsible for the winter storm warning for St. Lawrence Island and the Bering Strait coast, and that's the same one that will be pushing eastward here and bringing those winter weather advisories into the interior and along the Arctic coast there with the winds kicking up later on tonight and through the day on Sunday. Otherwise, some cloudiness right through here, slowly spreading eastward. As you can see, kind of sliding up and then over, with some clearing over Prince William Sound into the southeast interior, and look like some breaks in the sky up there all the way up toward Fairbanks, especially back down toward Northway and Tok and into northwest Canada. Clouds right through here, kind of the boundary, this zone right here, the boundary between the much colder Arctic air, bona fide Arctic air up there to the north and northwest, and the milder conditions with the southerly flow here to the south and southeast, looking across the southeast coast. Not too bad here. Looks like some sunshine broke out today. Some clouds up here to the north, maybe an isolated shower or two, but anything that fell is quite light. And you can see rolling that again, just some clouds passing across Kodiak Island. This is mostly just all clouds here. Could be some light precipitation in scattered areas up farther back to the north and northwest, but the main precipitation producer, of course, will be this front here that's pushing in to the southwest coast, back across the Pribilof. Some milder air coming up, so I had rain and snow mixed at the across the Pribilof Islands today, and mostly just rain down here to the Aleutians. But behind that front, you can see the much colder air spreading in from the northwest there, the west-northwest. Winds gusting 40 to 50 miles an hour at Shemya, temperature about 30 degrees with numerous snow showers out in that area. On the chart here, here's the tightening gradient there in advance of that front, pressing up against the Arctic high there just off the northwest coast. And of course, blowing snow, blizzard warning out for the St. Lawrence Island, Bering Strait coast. And this moisture starting to increase and push eastward here along the warm front, roughly in about this position late this afternoon, and areas of snow to the north, mixing with rain to the south, and a band of rain along the cold front there, back to where it links up with the warm front farther to the southwest. But again, snowfall levels crashing out here once again with that very cold air coming in from the west and southwest, and back down to, as I mentioned, snow showers there for the Shemya area. Otherwise, again, southern Panhandle looking really good, kind of cloudy to the north, and some breaks here, dry though, Prince William Sound northward and through Cook Inlet today. And then for tonight, it'll be much milder here up over the northwest with the clouds and the wind and the snow moving in. Still be on the cold side there for much of the Arctic coast and central and eastern north slope. But temperatures won't be falling to those 35 below zero range like Selawik saw this morning. Umiat still possibly could reach minus 30 like they had this morning, but generally it'll be a warming trend with the moisture increasing through the atmosphere. And again, behind the front here, should see a good improvement there for St. Lawrence Island once that pushes northward. Possibly, I might get a little ambitious putting clearing in there. Could happen, but the winds won't end completely there. But definitely the visibility should improve. Mixed rain and snow here in northern Bristol Bay. Rain, Alaska Peninsula, on back to the Aleutians. And looks like snow advancing eastward to about the Alaska Range later tonight. but from there eastward, dry with just variable clouds. And the outlook for Sunday, tomorrow, that whole thing pushes eastward here, improves back to the west, so the winter weather advisories will be ending from west to east, following the front along. Look for some snow for the Susitna Valley, up into the central Tanana Valley, and into the Yukon Flats there, and then back along the Arctic coast, increasing winds, and again, milder temperatures spreading into those areas with that push from the southwest. Rain, possibly Kodiak Island, southern Kenai Peninsula, and then the mix zone right through there. But again, from northern Cook Inlet, Matanuska Valley will see snow tomorrow, as well as the Susitna Valley, and maybe some increasing chances of light snow or snow showers to the Copper River Basin, and several troughs with gusty west winds and snow showers out over the Bering Sea, mostly to the north of the Aleutians. And for the southeast coast, partly to mostly sunny with a chance of a shower right along the central coast there, but generally it will be dry with continued light winds. And then for Monday, that cold front drops southeastward here, so look for a band of rain, mixed rain and snow here to push into the northern pan. It'll be just rain to the south, may not even reach the extreme southern areas through the day Monday, and then the colder air here spilling into the Gulf of Alaska and banking up along the Alaskan Range here with snow showers. Another front back to the northwest, snow and blowing snow here with a good system coming in to the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, back to the northwest, snow all the way up along the from Selawik Valley, Kotzebue Sound, up to about Wainwright, and then back down across St. Lawrence Island with pretty good conditions. These strong high pressure building in over the Aleutians, 1,046 millibar high, keeping it pretty nice out in that area. For lows tonight, again, 20, 25 below there for mostly the central and east side now, warming up, actually staying above zero here for the northwest interior areas, with 20s and 30s down to the south. Highs for tomorrow, 40s for the Panhandle, southern Alaska, Bristol Bay, and 30s here over the southwest interior, a little below zero along the Arctic coast. And then the highs or lows for tomorrow night, 5 to 10 below, definitely milder, but still a little below zero, and 20s for the Tanana Valley, lower 20s with lower 30s down into south central Alaska. Now up back into the 20s here for Bristol Bay, lower 30s for the eastern Aleutians, and 30s for the Panhandle. And for the highs tomorrow, on Monday, 0 to 10 above for the Arctic coast, otherwise right around the 30 to 32 degree mark in the central interior areas. And then south central Alaska, mid to upper 30s there, maybe only the lower 30s for the Susitna Valley and the Copper River Basin, to near 30 out toward Nunivak Island, southwest coast. Upper 30s Pribilofs, near 40 for the Aleutians, except on Alaska, maybe up to 45 degrees in the Panhandle. Again, lower 40s in the north to pushing 50 toward the south.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
We've got a lot of IFR to start the day out tomorrow on Sunday from northern Bering Sea, St. Lawrence Island, right up to the Bering Strait, southern Seward Peninsula, right up here to the Brooks Range, southward, all the way down into Bristol Bay and along and then east of the Alaska Range, but staying west of Cook Inlet and only extreme western Susitna Valley. Marginal VFR here north of the Alaska Range. We're actually starting on the south side there and extending all the way over to the border. Also down across the Kenai Peninsula, Kodiak Island, but pretty good VFR along the southeast coast up into the southeast interior, including most of Prince William Sound. And then for tomorrow afternoon, that spreads eastward. We've got the IFR now into western Prince William Sound there, Talkeetnas, Matanuska, Susitna Valley, all the way back out to the southwest coast, northward to the southern Seward Peninsula again, and along and south of the Brooks Range, and also the western North Slope, or western Arctic coast. Now some marginal VFR pushing inland here for the Panhandle, and even more extensive up to the north. And then for Monday morning, looks like all IFR there for the Panhandle, and much of the Gulf of Alaska from about the greater Yakutat area here, IFR back across the coastal mountains, Prince William Sound, up across the Susitna Valley there, and it kind of, you get to the Alaska Range and it expands here as you go north and northwest, with quite an area now from the Seward Peninsula here eastward across the upper Yukon Valley to the Brooks Range, and portions of the North Slope and western coast up there in the Arctic, looks to be IFR, but widespread VFR breaking out here over the Aleutians and the Bering Sea. And that continues into Monday afternoon, just a narrow area of areas of marginal VFR up here, more extensive for St. Lawrence Island. That'll extend back to the southwest, maybe reaching the western Aleutians, but really good conditions out here. Not too bad in over southern Alaska, but up in the interior, marginal VFR with areas of IFR here to the east, also up to the north, and a little bit better chance out here to the west and along the coast up there. IFR continues for the entire panhandle with marginal VFR down toward Annette and Metlakatla, those areas. For passes tomorrow, Anaktuvik, marginal VFR for Adigan, split the difference here and go IFR for that pass. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, IFR to start becomes gradually marginal VFR. That may take a significant portion of the day tomorrow for it to go marginal. Rainy though, occasionally marginal. And for windy, lowest conditions on the southern entrance, best chance of seeing IFR will be there, and then probably improving dramatically there on the other side of the mountains. And for Isabel, marginal VFR, Mentasta VFR becoming marginal. And for Tanita, marginal VFR becoming IFR. Portage VFR to start, becoming IFR afternoon time. And for the Chilkoot and White Passes, VFR becoming marginal. Looking at the freezing levels, we've got 2 to 6,000 feet here from southwest to northeast here, sort of lining up with where the jet stream is, and 8,000 feet just to the south at the surface, up to just south of St. Matthew Island, eastward Bristol Bay and the coast, 2 to 4,000 feet here over the Gulf of Alaska and the Panhandle. Icing tomorrow for the again, this whole area shifting eastward with time, mostly just isolated moderate rime icing here, but could be a couple areas here of considerable moderate, all above about 4,000 feet, less of that up to the northeast, and then behind the system, just some scattered areas of mixed icing here to the west that really scatters out down toward the western Aleutians. And for the jet stream here, we've got westerly flow here along and south of the Aleutians, becomes southwest, quite a jet max right through here, about 150 knots, and then it diverges here along the southwest coast there, but still 100 knots all the way into south central Alaska, be driving that moisture eastward. And for 9,000 feet, shaping up like this, westerlies at 30 to 40 knots, increased to as high as 65 knots here, and then 50 knotters hitting the southwest coast with 30 to 40 knot winds here over the interior out of the southwest. Lighter westerlies 15 to 20 for the Panhandle. Same thing at about 3,000 feet here, a little more northwest there, and lighter for the southeast coast. Good southwest flow here. Anywhere from 40 knots there for Bristol Bay, 15 to 25 over the interior, lighter up to the northeast, and 30 to 35 out there over the Aleutians. And for turbulence with those winds, occasional moderate chop here, the Alaska Peninsula, Aleutian Range, Kilbrook Mountain, southern Kuskokwim Mountain areas, northward, also for the Bering Strait and the western Aleutians.
Like most people, Dennis Beam and his daughter Kelly weren't worried about the cold the night their car slid into a ditch in the middle of a blizzard.
I wasn't really too concerned. I'd been stuck before and it wasn't all that deep. But the wind kept picking up and the storm just didn't let up. I was getting wet trying to get the car out, but it was no good, so I decided to wait. About 9 that morning, we'd been stuck about 4 hours. The storm wasn't stopping at all, and we were really getting cold. I figured nothing was going to happen up there on a country road. No help, period. So I decided to go for help. You stay warm and you stay in the car no matter what, okay?
Okay.
Everything's going to be okay. I love you.
Love you too.
Okay, now you be good. Right there. Right there, okay?
I didn't want to be left alone, but Dad said he'd be back for me. He promised.
Leaving Kelly was like leaving my heart behind, and I didn't know when I'd get it back. I couldn't see a thing. It was freezing. My eyes were frozen shut. I had ice all over my feet, but I had to keep going. There was nothing else to do.
Help! Please, it's Kelly Beam. We had a CB waiting in the car, so I tried to call for help. Help! But no one answered. I kept wondering where Daddy was.
It took me 3 hours to get to a house, and it was literally my last ounce of energy. My feet were black, parts of my face were frozen, but that wasn't my main concern. Kelly was still in that car, and the police said they couldn't get to her until the storm stopped, and there was nothing I could do.
After it got dark, I didn't know what had happened. I couldn't stop thinking about Dad. I had 3 pieces of candy, but I wanted to save them for Dad because I thought he'd be hungry when he came back.
After 10 hours, I didn't know what to think. She'd been alone so long. There was a lot of worry time then. Yeah, a lot of thinking time. Kelly's okay, I think. I had to leave her in the car.
Sometimes in the car, I dream that Daddy might not come back.
About 1 the next morning, the storm broke, and the police headed off to get Kelly.
Have you heard anything?
Nothing yet. All I could think was that after 19 hours, who knows, she'd been there so long with no heat. I kept hoping I'd put enough emphasis on staying in that car until I got back.
When the rescuers came, I asked if Dad was okay. He said yeah. I was glad, because it was all over and Dad was okay.
It's for you?
Yes. Thank God. And then the call came. She was okay. My whole world lit up then. Oh, thank God. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. She's okay.
Kelly suffered only mild symptoms of hypothermia. As the snow buried the car, it insulated and protected her from the severe cold and high wind. Dennis was badly frostbitten because of his walk through the snow. Which of the two had been in the most danger? Without a doubt, Dennis. As soon as he left the car, he put himself in tremendous jeopardy. Neither father or daughter were well prepared for the extreme weather conditions they encountered. A few carefully chosen items would have given them the extra margin of safety they needed. One blanket wasn't enough. Sleeping bags would have been better. Extra clothing would have been extremely welcome after Dennis got wet. Matches and candles. A flashlight with extra batteries. Signal flares. High-calorie, non-perishable food. A shovel and a sack of sand, ashes, or even kitty litter. And a first aid kit. These are examples of items you need. Winter travel is serious business, and you must be prepared for it. Your car should be in good working order. Know the route you plan to take, and tell somebody else where you're going and when you plan to arrive. Check the latest weather information before you leave. The National Weather Service provides up-to-the-minute weather forecasts and can predict most severe storms. If the people in our next story had listened to the weather forecast, they would be alive today. Traveling back to school, 2 students drove directly into a severe winter storm. They had a 4-wheel drive vehicle and were sure they could get through. First, they came upon a roadblock warning travelers to pull off the highway. They went around it. Several miles further, they got stuck in a large snowdrift directly under a bridge. They tried to dig out, but it was hopeless. Soaking wet, they changed clothes. Stuck in the snowdrift, isolated from help, they decided to sit it out. Wait until someone came along and found them. The next morning, someone did. They were dead. They had made 2 fatal mistakes. 1, traveling in the face of deteriorating weather conditions. And 2, ignoring a police roadblock. Ironically, it appeared that after they got stuck, they did everything right. They started the car every so often to keep warm. They changed into dry clothing after getting wet trying to dig out. And they didn't abandon their car. However, stuck under the bridge, the wind trapped fatal carbon monoxide fumes around and inside the car. A freak accident? Maybe. But they really died because they didn't use common sense. After those first 2 mistakes, every other decision only compounded their danger. Ed and Paul Miluski, Dennis and Kelly Beam could have been winter storm fatalities. The two students were. Being prepared for winter emergencies will always better your odds in a snowstorm. So will using good judgment and common sense. These guidelines, if you get caught in a severe snowstorm, will help you survive the cold.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis showing continued advancing toward the southwest and to the south, but this is about it with the winds currently going south and southwest. They'll probably start retreating back to the west and north here with a couple of systems rolling through. And actually by the middle of the week, it actually will become more southerly out here to the west, and that might progress in later in the week. So kind of a change in the pattern there that'll last for at least 4 or 5 days. Moving on to coastal water forecasts, west winds 15 up there along the eastern North Gulf Coast, and northwest 15 along the outer coastline of the Panhandle. Seas just 6 to 7 feet. Really light winds over the inside waters there, 5 to 15 knots from mostly southerly directions for the central and northern areas. And for Monday, those winds pick up to 20 knots. Lynn Canal, Stevens Passage, still light for Clarence Strait. And then here, a little bit of an increase along the coast. Westerlies 15 to 20 knots. Pick up to actually small craft advisories there for the north coast, just off to the east. And then for Cook Inlet, north of the Forelands, light southerlies tomorrow, southwest 15 south side, and Kachemak Bay, southwest winds 20 knots. Same thing for the Barren Islands with 6-foot seas, and west-southwest 15 for the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound west at 10. Outlook for Monday, cold front comes through Sunday night, and colder air, increase in the winds come in with 30-knot winds, 7-foot seas for Prince William Sound, be higher gusts there, especially back toward like Passage Canal and some of the northern bays. West winds 30 knots for the eastern North Gulf Coast with 10-foot seas. Gales here from the western area there out of the west to northwest 35 for the Barren Islands with near 12-foot seas. West 30 for southern Cook Inlet and Kachemak Bay with 7 to 9-foot seas. And north of the Forelands, west winds at about 20 with 4-foot seas. And for Shelikof Strait here, Kodiak Island, all those areas southwest 25 knots. And then from Sitkinak to Castle Cape, we've got southwesterlies at 30 knots, and then back down to 25 there, here along the south side of the peninsula. The Bering Sea side, southerly winds, both for the Bristol Bay and then on down to Cape Sarachev, out of the south at 30 knots, seas running 7 to as high as 10 feet. And then for the Monday outlook, we've got westerlies at 20 knots here, Bristol Bay. That extends all the way down the coastline on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. Lighter and more northwesterly on the Pacific side, but from Castle Cape to Sitkinak and up the east side of Kodiak Island, those northwesterlies will be up to 25 knots and west 20 for Shelikof Strait. Western Aleutians tomorrow, minimum gales southwest 35 knots, west 30 here for Amchitka Island, and then small craft advisory 25 to 30 knot winds here out of the west for the central Aleutians, turning southwest at 30 there for Unalaska Island with 11 to 13-foot seas, but up to as high as 16 feet elsewhere and close to 20 out in the west. And then for the Monday outlook, we've got continued gale warnings, more southerly out there for the western Aleutians, falling back to 25 out of the south there to the east, and then Nadiak and Atka lighter, more variable winds, 15 to 20 there, and southwest 15 coming down here as you head into Fox Islands, 10 to 20 out of the west-southwest for Unalaska Island. And for the southwest coast, south of Nunivak Island tomorrow, southwest 30 knots, 25 knots with the Perlofts, back up towards St. Matthew Island, 25 out of the southwest. They'll seas up to 18 feet there and about 13 feet for the Perlofts, southwest 20 there for the areas north of Nunivak Island, and mentioned winds coming down there for St. Lawrence Island down to just south at 15. And then for Monday, back up, southwest 30 again, next system coming in, and then southwest 25 here over the coast, and 35 knots for St. Matthew Island, westerlies at 25 with 15-foot seas for the Perlofts. East winds 20 knots here. East side to the central coast, pick it up to brisk wind advisories for the west side here all the way down to Cape Thompson, and then south 20, that front advancing northward, so in the afternoon those winds will go southerly at about 20 knots. And then for Monday, kind of more of a lighter variable wind pattern out here in the west, 10 to 15 to easterly 15, central coast on the west side, and east at about 20 knots for the eastern Beaufort Sea. And then for tonight, still cold on the east side there, but definitely a warmer night, stormier, more snow, wind, snow blowing, snow wind weather advisories moving in. Improvement after the front goes through for St. Lawrence Island tonight. Until then, winter storm warnings out, especially through this evening. Winter weather advisories as snow advances eastward in the western interior. Expect 4 to 6 inches all through this area, up to the Brooks Range, maybe even some areas a little bit more. And then rain mixed with snow changes to rain over the Aleutians. That pushes eastward on Sunday, and that's a look at the weather.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.